good morning, afternoon, evening, depending on where you're joining us from today. A huge welcome to all of you to this WSET in conversation with. Today is a very important day. Obviously, we're celebrating International Women's Day 2022, where this year's theme is Break the Bias, where we look to celebrate women's achievements and take action for equality. So my name is Rachel Webster. I'm the Business Development Director for Europe, Middle East, Africa and India here at the WSET. And today I'm joined at our HQ in London by Emma Rice, our WSET diploma holder and director and head winemaker at Hattingley Valley Wines, which is a prestigious sparkling wine producer down in Hampshire here in the UK. So just for everyone out there, welcome. These sessions are being recorded. You will be able to access them on YouTube. If you go to the WSET Events Hub page, you'll be able to see today's recording. We also hosted another conversation with yesterday also, and we do have another one on Friday. So please do join us for those too. So welcome, Emma. Thank you very much for joining us here today on International Women's Day.
Thank you.
So a good starting place really would be for you to explain kind of your career, how you started out, what journey it took you on, and how you've ended up at Hattingley Valley.
Well, I've had a fantastic career and life thanks to the wine industry generally. I've worked in most parts of the industry. Started off in hospitality, and that's where I got to taste a double magnum of Krug 1979, and that is the wine that got me absolutely hooked on wine. And I was 19 years old, and I have made wine my career and my life ever since. So I did hospitality retail, working for Oddbins, which back in the 90s was essentially the university of the wine world. And I did my first WSET in 1998, what was called the basic certificate at the time. And then I went through retail, hospitality retail. I traveled to New Zealand, I worked on a vineyard, I came back to the UK, and I started working for a wholesaler in London, Domain Direct, specializing in domain bottled Burgundy. So my wine tasting career has gone downhill ever since, really, because I started with Krug 79.
And difficult one to beat though, isn't
it? And then domain bottled Burgundies from some of the most fantastic producers going. And then while I was doing that, I saw an advert for Hugh Johnson's pocket wine book as editor, a wine editor for the pocket wine book. And I got that job at Mitchell Beazley, and I spent 3 or 4 years doing that, which was a fantastic way to meet people, learn about wine. Essentially, my job was reading wine books, so it was a fantastic way of doing that. And during that time, I did my higher certificate and then my diploma at the WSET. So the WSET was a theme throughout my early career, and it was while I was working at Mitchell Beazley and working on the pocket wine book, I kept reading about Plumpton College down in Sussex, doing winemaking courses. So I up sticks, left London, and went to do a degree in winemaking, which I have to say was one of the best moves I ever made. And so I moved from the trade publishing side of the wine business, and then I went into winemaking. And yeah, I've traveled the world, worked in California, Australia, now back in England for the last 14 years, setting up a winery from scratch in a growing industry, which is and still growing and burgeoning, very exciting. So yeah, I've had a very nice life thanks to the wine business.
Excellent. And Hattingley Valley now is known for producing some of the best sparkling wines in the UK and globally as well. So an amazing place to work and to head up operations.
Yeah, no, it's a very exciting business and a very exciting industry in England at the moment. And I have to say, seeing as it is International Women's Day, the production side of the wine trade in England is remarkably equal in terms of gender. There are a lot of the best winemakers in England are female, and I wouldn't say a majority, but a significant proportion of the high-end winemakers in the UK are women. And I think that's something to do with the fact that we're not hampered or hindered by traditions that maybe some of the more established New World regions and certainly in mainland Europe they have that you know, women were not allowed in the winery, that it was, you know, considered bad luck to have a woman in the winery, going, you know, this is going back a few generations. But it still did have an impact even when I was coming through. So I have to say the English wine production industry is relatively forward thinking and gender equal, if you like.
Great. Yeah, I mean, we're relatively young in, as you say, in that side of things compared to some of our European neighbours.
Yes.
We're starting off on a really exciting winemaking journey, wine producing journey. It's probably just the beginning of really good things to come.
Yeah, well, let's hope so. Yeah.
So what have been the most important factors then for you in achieving that success? So what is it that has really contributed to your success?
Well, the key thing was I found something that I was really interested in, and that triggered my my desire to learn more. And I think there's barely been a point in my adult life where I haven't been doing some kind of learning alongside my paid work. So the early years it was WSET, and in the latter years it was Plumpton College, and constantly learning. And I think the more you learn, the less you realize you know. And the day you think that you've got nothing left to learn is a dangerous point, because nobody knows everything about everything. And the wine world changes all the time. There's always a new region, a new producer, and something exciting going on. Particularly in winemaking, there's research into techniques and growing and sustainability, and different ways of working. You can't afford to not be learning constantly. So I think it's part, the key factors are a passion for something, which in my case, and hopefully for a lot of people watching, is wine, a common theme, and then also confidence in oneself. There have been moments where I certainly have suffered from imposter syndrome, where I thought, gosh, someone's going to find me out one day. But overarching was just that ability to trust in myself, and just not blindly, but sometimes blindly, just go all in with confidence. And that can make all the difference to how people react to you, and also how you deal with things as well.
So you talked about how important education is, specifically WSET and then your degree at Plumpton. So we've already covered that a little bit, but you also encourage your colleagues as well to kind of get on the studying bandwagon, to keep learning. What do you provide there at Hattingley for your colleagues?
Oh, we do everything from WSET level 1 to up to level 3. We haven't had anyone yet embark on the diploma, but we've got people who've gone all the way through up to level 3, and after they've been with us for a year, anyone can put a request in. Doesn't matter which department they're in, whether it's sales, admin, finance, vineyard, production, any of them can request, as long as it's something that's relevant to their job or the business, not just their job, but the business as a whole. So it's not just wine things, but most people are either on or about to embark on WSET level 2, level 3. We've also put numerous people through the degree course at Plumpton part-time. It's a very good way to make sure you keep your staff, because a part-time degree at Plumpton takes 6 years.
Wow.
So
a big commitment.
They're a big commitment on their part, but it's also a huge financial commitment on our part, and also the time, because they have they get a day off a week to go on site to Plumpton and learn. And we've also put people through the short courses there as well. And Juan, my assistant winemaker, he's currently finishing off his master's degree at Plumpton, which, thanks to the pandemic, was able to do it full time, because there were so many, all the courses were online. So he was able to do a full day's work, go home and then do the study online. So that was a silver lining for him. But yeah, so everybody and anybody who works at Hattingley can request pretty much any course they want for their profession.
And leading by example, with obviously you learning and continuing to learn. As you say, the world of wine keeps changing, so you've got to keep up to date and keep traveling and keep seeing what's going on elsewhere, etc. So you all encourage from the top.
Yeah, exactly. You can't afford to stand still.
And what is the most valuable piece of advice that you've been given along the way?
I was once, when I worked way back, I was once told by someone quite famous in the trade, if I wanted to get into wine production, I should marry the son of a winery owner, a chateau owner. I didn't. I was already married by that point, so I didn't. That advice wasn't going to work. And I've, colleagues of mine, when I was working in California, male colleagues were often advised to find a winery daughter in the Napa Valley. But no, it's more seriously. If you want to be in the production industry, the advice I got was learn to drive a forklift.
Excellent.
And don't expect the guys who work for you to do anything that you haven't either done yourself or are prepared to do yourself. So that you can either do yourself or there are certain things I can't lift some really heavy things, but I can do everything I ask the guys who work for me to do. I've either done it or I can do it, and I think that's quite key. And particularly if you're going to go into production, driving a tractor for the vineyard and driving a forklift if you're in the winery.
Yeah, that sounds like very sound advice. So what message would you give to women who are just about to embark on their career within the drinks industry, or maybe have kind of reached a bit of a stalling point in their career? What advice would you give them on how to kind of regain that enthusiasm or confidence to progress a bit further?
Well, I think with the pandemic having made it quite difficult to go out and do anything, let alone travel, I'd say now that we are able to travel a bit more, something that really inspires me is going to visit a wine region. You can combine it with a holiday as well. Most wine regions are in pretty nice places, so it's not a hardship. So I would say go and visit other wine regions and get inspired by some of the wines you taste and the people you meet. But also don't be afraid to sort of take a bit of a leap sometimes, and do a course, or I don't know, maybe go and get a part-time job on the weekends. Depends on your family situation. Obviously, working in a different part of the industry. If you're working in sales and marketing, go and get a job in a retail shop at the weekends or something. I don't know, something like that. Or we have people volunteering on the vineyards, people begging to come and work on the vineyards, and it's like, well, okay, great. If you want to, we give them some wine. They have a nice day out in the countryside, that kind of thing. There's more and more opportunities like that which have come around as a result of the pandemic. So yeah, just put yourself out there. Sometimes.
I think it's always something that's quite difficult for people to envisage, like how wide the opportunities are within the drinks industry. It's not all about production or all about sales. Now it's a huge industry with so many different elements, from hospitality to retail to production now in the UK, which is only growing in size. I'm in East Anglia, and there's lots more vineyards popping up, year on year, etc. So the opportunities are increasing, and it's not strictly just a one way in. I started in retail like you did, but there are plenty of different ways now of accessing that, and wine knowledge is very important, but balancing that out with kind of other skill sets in marketing, finance, etc. is all really valuable skills to bring into the industry as well. So that would definitely, from my experience, be something that would be worth telling those who are beginning university or just coming out of universities, that it's a much wider industry to be getting into these days than it was 20 odd years ago when I started out.
30 odd years when I started. I think it's one of the things that I've loved my career. It's been very varied. I've worked in all sorts of different parts of the industry. And I'm really finding I'm quite enjoying teaching. So I'm talking to Plumpton, I'm talking to the WSET about potentially doing some teaching on winemaking and sparkling winemaking in particular, which is quite a niche part of the industry, but that's my specialism, and that's where I've got my expertise. And that, you meet people, you get inspired by meeting the younger people or people who are just coming into the industry. Because you can get a bit jaded sometimes, and it's great and it reinvigorates me, because I have to sometimes have to relearn what I already know, so I can teach it in a better way. So something like that is just do something a little bit different. It can be within the trade, but a little bit different, just to refresh yourself.
That's very good advice. And you also at Hattingley have an apprenticeship scheme as well, and you're also on the diversity and inclusion committee at the Vintners company. I didn't know if you want to just tell me a little bit more about what you do there, why you decided, A, with the apprenticeship, but also to be part of the diversity scheme.
I wouldn't say it was a decision. I was invited. And I said yes, because I think it's important. The livery companies in London historically have been very male dominated, but the Vintners company in particular, I can't speak for any others, is making a real effort to include more women, people from more diverse backgrounds. And I have to take my hat off to them. They put their money where their mouth is. So they funded this Vintners apprenticeship, which started in 2016, when we've had 2 apprentices come through the Hattingley winery. And the Vintners have paid their training at Plumpton. At the WSET has very kindly paid their level 3 WSET certification. And we've trained them on the job as well. Both those apprentices have gone on to be assistant winemakers in the industry, very successful so far. And then I was invited to join the Vintners as a freeman about 2 years ago. And as a result of that, they asked if I would go on to the diversity and inclusion committee. And, it's not something that you can change overnight, because there's a relatively long process for the membership. But it is changing, and at the moment the Vintners have their very first lady master, so the first time a woman has held the position of master of the Vintners, which is really exciting. And I got my livery medal presented by her, so I was one of the first women to be presented with my livery medal by the first master, lady master. So it's all, it's changing quite rapidly, considering, we're talking, the Vintners was established in 1363, I think. So, this is a tiny blip in the history of the Vintners, and hopefully it will be another 600 odd years of inclusion and diversity.
Sort of moving in the right direction. Definitely. Acknowledgement that it needs to move. Yeah, great. I'm just going to have a check to see if any questions have come through on the chat. So bear with me while I'm just having a quick look to see if there's anything there. Lots of people out there looking forward to diploma graduation, which we've got next month, after it being a little bit postponed because of the pandemic. Wonderful. I can't see any other questions that have come through on there now, but thank you everyone for your comments. I'll have a look through those once we've finished. But thank you so much, Emma, for your time today. I really appreciate you coming in. As I said earlier, the recording will be available on YouTube on the WSET Global Events Hub. We've got the recording from yesterday, which was with Michelle Buffard. That's already up there for you to have a look at. Again, another 20-minute in conversation with. And then on Friday coming up, we've got another one with Annette Alvarez-Peters, which is the former Assistant Vice President of Costco. So that's coming up on Friday of this week. So thank you again, Emma, for joining us on International Women's Day. And everyone out there, I wish you a wonderful afternoon or evening.